Okay, this is going to be a weird one, and it might stir up some debate, and kind of hope it does. I don't know. But all I know is that this is too long a fault to put in a tweet, and I don't have an appropriate forum to voice this on anymore. So, anyway, I spent the money that I would have spent on a ticket to Soilo, a Woke Wars story, picking up these two Blu rays from my local Walmart. Now, given the way that I just referred to Soilo, you might think that I am a big time comics gator. And until recently, you would have been right, but I've had a falling out with that movement based on their treatment of women. Simply because they view women as cum dumpsters and they see the portrayal of women as anything other than sex objects and showing any female body type other than supermodel scantily clad as some sort of assault on men's rights. As somebody who was raised with in a decent family who taught me to respect everyone, including women, this sort of attitude rubbed me the wrong way. And when I said so, words were exchanged, and, well, let's just say I'm out of the Comicsgate movement, and you won't find me following people like, say, Diversity in Comics anymore on Twitter or on YouTube or such because of how they treat women. Now, what does this have? Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, I watched Deadpool for the first time in 2 years, and there was one little scene that struck me. There's a montage where he's working his way up the chain to Francis, and he has to deal with a female henchman who gangster henchwoman who's trying to kill. And there's this whole thing of he's conflicted because is it sexist to hit you? Is it more sexist not to hit you? I'm so confused. Where's the line? That and the recent fact that I, even without following Comicsgate people, my Twitter has just exploded with stories of people complaining about the fridging in Deadpool 2, a movie I haven't gotten a chance to see yet, but I do intend to see it. It just won't be till near the end of this month that I get a chance to because of various situations. Has caused this whole issue to explode in my mind, and I have some thoughts on it that seem not to align with anyone. Now, given what I just said about the fact that I left Comicsgate and most of what's related to it behind I don't because I believe that they don't have an appropriate amount of respect for women as members of the human race, you might think that I agree with people on the other side, like Gail Simone, who is using this opportunity to come out and rip on everything and just rip on Deadpool 2 and everything and bring out her old women in refrigerators trope. But you would be wrong. In fact, I think people like Gail Simone have done just as much damage to women in fiction and in comics as the Comicsgate people have. So I'm somewhere in the middle, and I guess everybody's going to hate me now, if they don't already hate me. Here is what I mean. I'm somebody who writes fan fiction. I'm also somebody who writes stuff on my own, and I've had to scrap several novels because while I was writing them, Hollywood used the ideas, and I didn't want to come off as a knockoff. But I do work on things, and I would like to be a writer someday. Although I know that will most likely never happen. But I keep trying. It's more of a hobby for me, something to keep my mind going. In fact, I'm in the middle of editing stories now that I'm going to continue writing after a year absence from, fanfiction.net. You can find my stuff under Matthew G. Gibbon if you do a search on fanfiction.net. But anyway, but anyway, as somebody who writes stuff, here's the thing. That scene in Deadpool is accurate for me. The people like Gail Simone and the fact that you can be so viciously attacked by her, and no matter which way you turn, it has made me reluctant to include women in my fiction. I am reluctant to include female characters. Why? Because it seems like you can't win. You either have to have them be what, please pardon my French, quote unquote, cum dumpsters and nothing, and just sluts who only exist to be used sexually by the heroes and maybe then justify their existence in the story by beating somebody up. Or you have to write them as perfect. But even if you do that, you can run into problems with the politically correct people on the other side. So you're basically stuck between a rock and a hard place at this point when it comes to including female characters. And here's what I mean. I think people like Gail Simone would be advised to get off their high horses and just, in most cases, assume that they're just dealing with writers who just want to tell a good story. Because here's the thing, it's no win. Here's what you get if you do this. You get attacked if a female character is you get all these problems that you don't get with male characters. Male characters are just allowed to be the character and serve a purpose in the plot they're supposed to serve. Uncle Ben is allowed to be an out-of-shape, over-the-hill guy who gives some wise advice to Peter and then dies because that's what the story requires. If you make him a female character, all of a sudden you're in this minefield. You're accused of fridging him when he dies. You're asked why he's so old. If you make him young, you're asked why you didn't portray him older. If he's out of shape, you ask why he was out of shape. You're asked why you said he was out of shape. Are you making a statement against all women? If he's in shape, you're asked why. What do you think only women who are in shape can make a contribution? And all this stuff just comes down on your head, and you sort of enter this giant political minefield. And writing female characters in modern day is a zero-sum game. Here's the thing: you make them a warrior and a lesbian, and you're accused of fetishizing them for male readers. You make them a straight woman who's a brilliant scientist and good at her job. You're accused of saying that all women have to be completely career minded and women can only do science things. So then you make them a cop good at their job, and you give them the driven cop thing that you would a male character. Anything interesting you do with the character to try and give them a plot arc basically gets you in trouble. Yet if you make them perfect, they're a Mary Sue, and you get in trouble for that. Just look at what happens with Rey in Star Wars. People on both sides seem to hate her for that reason. And it just becomes this thing where you basically throw up your hands eventually and say, I'm going to avoid putting female characters in my story, and that gets you in trouble. Just because you don't want the trouble because you're not sure how to portray them, and it's this exact dilemma Deadpool is in. It's like if you think that the character has served her purpose in the story, but you want her to go out in a memorable way that motivates the characters going forwards, you're fridging her. If you keep a character going past where she serves the plot, you're accused of and so she only turns up occasionally once in a while, and it's just and she gets sidelined to a supporting role because there isn't anything left for a character to do. Well, then you've just sidelined a female character, and that's a problem. You can't have her be be too smart. You can't ever be smart and serve a purpose of the plot of being the scientist. Or you're saying women are weak and they can't be warriors. You can't ever just be the warrior, or you're fetishizing her. Basically, I'm repeating myself at this point, but I just want to give you an idea of what, when you're writing, I normally just write characters in what feels right. But seeing what happens now, you're just afraid to put your work out there if it has a female character in it, because you're afraid of getting attacked by people like Gail Simone. Because you'll do something that just feels like the natural flow of the story and what is going with the characters, and it doesn't matter if they're male or female, and you'll get attacked both ways. So I think Gail Simone and the so-called SJWs have done as much to hurt the portrayal of females and the inclusion of female characters in comics and other pieces of fiction as Comicsgate. So between the two extremes, I think they've both hurt it, and I don't, and I've just thrown up my hands and I'm saying, you know what? Screw it. I'm done. I'm not including them. I'm done and going out of my way to. Here's my philosophy going forward. I'm just gonna write whatever in the world I want to write, and if people want to accuse me of being this or that because of it, screw them. I don't have any biases for or against any race, any gender, or anything like that. I'm just going to write what feels right. And screw all these opinion pieces. Screw all these YouTube videos. Screw them all. It's a zero-sum game that I'm not playing anymore. And so instead of being afraid to write them, I'm going to put them in there, but I'm never going to make a point of going out of my way. It's just like, but I have to wonder how many people have been scared off, how many other writers have been scared off from putting female characters in their work because it has become a zero-sum game thanks to the two extremists of diversity in comics and Gail Simone. You people need to stop it. You need to stop fighting like children and start being adults and start seeing everyone as members of the human race and treating them with respect, but also not flipping out and assuming everyone is out to get you and everything that is done with one character is a statement about all people with that gender. It's not. It's just what they're doing with the one character and the one story 99% of the time. So, yeah, that's what I'm just saying. The extremes on both sides are hurting female characters and have made including them a zero-sum game for writers, and I think it needs to stop. Well, anyway, this was just the start of a little discussion, just a little rant I had to get out off my chest after seeing Deadpool and seeing all these stories about Deadpool too. Alright, sorry, this was just something I needed to get out. Thank you for your time.